Good morning, everyone. This is Katie Novotny calling in from Premier Marketing. First and foremost, as always, thank you for taking the time to join us. We are really excited this morning to discuss the new product from Mutual of Omaha. This disability product actually came out in October, but with most of you being so busy during AEP, we wanted to have the chance to launch it again and let you know the details, the ins and outs, and some sales ideas revolving this product. This morning, we are joined by Michael Prothe from Mutual of Omaha, who is our sales director for disability products. Michael, you ready to take over the presentation?
Absolutely. Look forward to it. Thank you, Katie. All right. Well, as Katie indicated, my name is Michael Prothe, Sales Director at Mutual of Omaha on the Disability Income team, and just want to say thank you for joining in on the training seminar workshop today. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share with you a little bit about the new Mutual Income Solutions. MIS is how you'll hear me refer to it. So the MIS portfolio is going to be a new income protection program for disability sales. We're very excited about it. Reason why we have this level of excitement is that our older product, DI Choice, has been on the shelf for about 13, 14 years. And so the thing that we want to do and express to everyone on the call today is that the solutions that are available to meet the most important needs of your clients, and that most important asset, in my opinion, is that of their income, that there is an opportunity to protect it, because we've seen a lot of the impact that not having an income has had on a number of individuals in our friend relationships, family relationships, as a result of COVID chaos of 2020. And it was by no fault of their own that some of those incomes have been impacted. And now you have the opportunity to ask a very important question: is your income important to you? When the response is yes, of course it is. Well, what have you done to protect it? That's where you have the opportunity not only to talk about life insurance potentially, but also, well, if in the event of an accident or illness, what would you have in place to keep that income stream going? So that product that we have today, the MIS product, is going to be just that. Our product is developed and designed to preserve and protect the blue-gray space, the skilled occupation, the laborers of the world. However, we've expanded our product and plan design, which I'll go into more detail about, to incorporate those that are more commonly known as a white-collar occupation, higher income earning types, and even into the medical space. So I'm going to provide some comparison and some contrasting to what the DI Choice product was to what the MIS product is, how it is that you're going to be able to present this to your clientele, and all of the unique features and opportunities that we're going to have available. And then upon completion of the overview and the description, I'll talk to you a little bit more about what resources are available with Katie and her team from a marketing tools and resources, and then we'll open it up to any questions that there might be. You're welcome to ask those questions through the chat box on the GoToMeeting resource, or you can wait and we'll open it up for questions during the conclusion of the presentation. So as I mentioned, so my background is that of having been a producer, having been a marketer, and I happen to be a wholesaler for Mutual of Omaha today. And if I were to go back into a private practice, into a producer type of a role, this would be the type of, being a protection planning specialist is what I would refer to it as. That protection planning specialist creates the security to know that regardless of the financial circumstances that your clients might face, that an income stream is going to be created. And that's why I always said that the practice that I had, I was that protection planning specialist working in the world of life insurance and disability income, as well as long-term care and any other protection planning product that might be in the market. That's what I was tasked to do on our team. And so when asking about, is your income important to you, it sounds like such a basic question, but it was always a question that invoked a very positive response. Is your income important to you? Yes. Well, what have you done to protect it? And as I mentioned, the majority of the time, the individuals will say, well, I bought life insurance. That's great. That's fantastic. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, if it wasn't an untimely death, what would you do to create an income if in the event of accident or illness prevented you from going to work to create an income for your family, for yourself? And those are where it starts to get into a very intriguing type of a conversation where you just need to ask a couple more questions. They might say something like, well, I have it through my workplace. That's fantastic that your employer is such a great provider of benefits. However, do you know the details about your income protection through your employer? And if there's an employer provided benefit, there's always an opportunity to buy additional amounts over and above that, because an employer provided benefit indicates that that income is going to be taxable. So I always make the reference that a husband and wife and all things are going great and both of us have jobs, and it still seems like there is more month at the end of the money, kind of a scenario to reference that country song. But if there's more a month at the end of the money when all things are going well and both people are employed or one person is employed or whatever that case might be, what if there's a disruption in that income stream as a result of an accident or illness? And this is where the income protection program with Mutual of Omaha comes into play. The reason why it's a great type of a conversation is number one, it's a name recognizable company. Of course, Mutual of Omaha. We're never going to go out to marketplace and it's got great ratings. It's endured for 110 plus years. In fact, the first product that Mutual of Omaha ever put out onto the street to sell was a disability product. So here we are 110 years later, and we are now with this product and the solution that is there and available to present to you and to your clients. So how do we go about underwriting this type of a product? And it's based off of three scenarios, because a lot of times we'll talk about, well, my client from a life insurance perspective was Uber preferred non-tobacco. Okay, that's great. Well, morbidity versus mortality. That's what we have to work with when it comes from a life insurance versus a disability income protection. So we take three things into account: the occupation, the earnings, their actual income, and medical. Occupation, earnings, and medical. So once we've identified that, we have an elimination period, we have a benefit period, because really in the world of disability income protection, a lot of times individuals will say, boy, it's way too complicated. It takes too long. It's too expensive. There's too much underwriting. Well, when you're talking with your prospects or with your existing book of clients, really what they're looking for are four things. When does it start? When does it stop? How much do I get? And how much will it cost? When does it start? When does it stop? How much do I get? And how much will it cost? And when you think about it in those very simple terms, those four things, that's all they want to know, because income protection doesn't have to be that confusing. And that's what we want to just provide to you today, is just a baseline of what is it that we're looking for. And that's how we go about determining what that underwriting process, the cost involved, the benefit available through the occupation, earnings, and medical. And then clearly, income replacement for your paycheck. Again, nobody longs for the day to meet the criteria of a disability income protection policy, right? And so that is what we want to, it's paycheck protection. That's where we want you just to be able to position this as it's income replacement as a result of an accident or illness that prevents you from going to work. And with all that in mind, now that we've identified, here's some things of which Mutual of Omaha can do. It's a new product for you to take out to your marketplace. And it doesn't matter to me in terms of whether or not it's new prospects, or if again, if I were to go back into this marketplace, I'd go back into an existing book of business. That existing book of business already trusts you as a protection planning specialist. You have that opportunity to take that back to them and say, you know what? Congratulations on the recent purchase of your life insurance. Congratulations on the recent purchase of XYZ product, your property and casualty, your health insurance, whatever product it is that you may have represented to them and had them work with you on. This is where you come back in and say, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, who is your income protection plan with? And there might be a, what? What are you talking about? Who is it that you're talking about? Whatever that case might be, every single client who is earning an income is interested in figuring out how to protect it if it wasn't there. So with all that in mind, how might we be able to go ahead and create this type of a solution? So I'm going to give you a quick overview of what our DI Choice product was and what the Mutual Income Solutions product is. Now, the Mutual Income Solutions product is available in all states except for two. All states except for two, and that's California and New York. I know, a big surprise to everybody out there, but New York and California still are going through the review and approval process. That is where our DI Choice portfolio is still available and an option for income protection needs. So in the mutual income solutions world, that's where what we're working with in all other states. So one thing just to remember about this, the mutual income solutions opportunity has no paper applications. Everything is done by way of e-quote, e-app, e-underwriting, e-policy delivery. Everything is electronic. There are no paper checks. There are no paper apps. Everything is done by way of electronic means through the producer portal, the client portal, and I'll talk more about that in just a moment. So with that in mind, so the mutual income solutions, again, issue ages still ages 18 to 61. The renewability, that really just has to do with the base of the contract. So our base contract has always been a guaranteed renewable contract, but one of the things that we knew we had to add to become more market consistent and competitive in that white collar, white coat space, the higher income space, because those are what we're looking for more from a competitive perspective. We had to add the non-cancelable version of that. So the guaranteed renewable contract is not it's a great contract as a matter of fact, but the GR contract just says the carrier reserves the right to increase a block of business, so to speak. But I can just give you some history on that. The GR contract, as I mentioned, of the mutual of the DI Choice portfolio on the market for the past 13, 14 years. We've never had a price increase in that book of business. And in fact, in all of the years of Mutual of Omaha being active in the DI space with a GR contract, this guaranteed renewable type of contract, there's only been a couple of instances that I've been able to identify, late 70s, early 80s, a couple of specific lines in the state of California. And so that was the only thing. So our experience has been very good from a pricing perspective. But what the non-cancelable version of it does is it says the contract says that the carrier cannot increase the premium. It just can't. It's just part of what we call non-can. So you have the choice of having a GR contract and a non-can contract. The GR contract is going to be somewhere between 15 to 18% less expensive from a premium perspective. But in the competitive world, if you're asked to compare something to another carrier, you might have to show a non-can version. Now, one of the things from an issue and participation limit, one of the things that we're going to be able to do now is to be able to participate in higher earning occupations, and we can do that by having higher issue limits. So you can see on the left in the DI Choice portfolio, our 6, 5, and 4As, we had a max benefit amount for a monthly basis of $12,000. Well, now on the 4, 5, and 6A, we can go all the way up to $20,000. So which is a great option and available. 3As we used to go up to 10, now we go up to 15. 2A, it was 8, now it's up to 10. 1A, it was 7, now it's up to 8. So these are the kinds of things that are going to allow you, from occupations of skilled mechanics and carpenters, plumbers, and where they're a 2A, all the way up to, if they're an executive, a CPA, an attorney, you're going to be able to meet the needs with the Mutual Income Solutions product that allows for you to have more or less a one-stop shop from a carrier perspective, one of which is going to be able to be taken to market with confidence. So the other area that I wanted to share with you is that when we call participation, issue and participation limits. So those issue and participation limits into those higher incomes, that's where we have that opportunity. We talked about the issue amount going from 12 to 20. Well, now we will participate with other carriers or other group coverage that might be in force. So if there's another IDI policy, another individual policy with a different carrier in the marketplace, we used to participate only up to 20,000, but now we'll go all the way up to 30,000. So if their coverage, the other carrier plus our coverage, will go all the way up to 30,000. The group LTD, where they answer the question where you say, hey, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you who is your income protection plan with, and they say, well, I have it through my employer. That's great. Did you know that if it's an employer provided benefit, any benefits received would be taxable to you? Well, no, I had no idea. Oh, by the way, it's you earn $100,000 per year, and your group LTD plan says that you have a cap of 60% up to 5. Well, 60% of 100,000, of course, 60,000 divided by 12, that's where you get to the 5,000. But that 5,000 would actually be taxable. So let's say it's a 15% and a 20%, so you're going to take a 20% bump for tax purposes. That's why I made the statement that indicated that anytime there's an employer provided benefit, there's always an option for additional individual DI, because of course, individual DI paid for by the individual is going to be tax-free if a claim is made at that particular time. So a group LTD You'll see we used to only participate up to 20,000. Now we'll go all the way up to 35,000. And that 35,000 is what allows for us to participate at those levels with the higher incomes. So a lot of opportunity and flexibility there. Underwriting outcomes, again, we just added one additional underwriting outcome. You could have a 25, 50, 75, but we added a 100% rating. You'll see that we can still exclude specific areas. We can rider, we can limit benefits, we can have a rating involved with it. What we're really trying to do here is be as flexible as possible given the underwriting circumstances that we might face. The elimination period. So many individuals in the DI world knew Mutual of Omaha as being a short-term DI option. And short-term meant that the elimination period was short. So that 0, 7, 14 day. We have entered into the space to where those short-term elimination periods are no longer available. Our minimum elimination period is now 30 days. So 30 days is our minimum elimination period. We have 30, 60, 90, 180, 365, and up to a 2-year, 730-day elimination period as an option. So that's what we want to know from an elimination period perspective. When it comes to a benefit period perspective, again, we had a 3-month version that was out there again from that short-term perspective, but now all of our solutions are going to be a minimum elimination period of 30 days, and a minimum benefit period of 6 months. So we have various, 6-month, 1-year, 2-year, 5-year, 10-year. The 265 and 270, those are brand new additions that we have. Again, from a competitive perspective, we wanted to be able to compare apples to apples. Benefit coverage, so you see that we have both an accident only and an accident and sickness. So the accident and sickness is what we commonly refer to as a DI policy, but we do, from a Mutual of Omaha perspective, have an accident only option. So the triggering event would not be that of an illness or a sickness. The triggering event would be an accident only. But for the purposes of this call, we're talking about an accident and sickness, accident and illness. On-off job coverage, we do have on-off job coverage just identified, because that's a lot of times what people want to know is that do I get injured off the job? Does it cover the same way if I'm on the job? Definition of disability, this just says our base definition is during the first 24 months, it is your occupation and without any kind of a rider addition. After that 24 months, it would be any occupation of which you could be trained or educated for. But in a moment, I'll show you how you can enhance that definition of disability for to make it a more comprehensive version with riders that we're going to have available. So that's the base definition. The basic benefits, again, nothing different here. Everything's pretty normal, market consistent, presumptive, survivor, a small survivor benefit, transplant, rehab, recurrent, waiver of premium. Nothing new there, but just, again, knowing that it is a very market consistent, very competitive base type of contract. So the next thing here, as far as just going through the comparison and just giving you an idea of what's out there and available, our mutual income solutions, we do have a pre-X version on it, residents outside of US. So now what we have put in place, again, this is a market consistent, that if a person were to go on claim and they were to move back to their home country or to a different country, that we're going to limit that to 12 months during a continuous disability. So if they move there on a permanent basis, we're going to stop paying their claim after 12 months. And again, that's just being market consistent. The base definition for our mental nervous is going to be 24 months. So for the first 2 years of the contract. But after that, if you wanted to extend the full mental nervous coverage, you could do that for the length of the benefit period selected by way of a rider. And I'll talk more about that in just a moment. So a lot of the things that we're talking about here is just a lot of enhancements onto the DI choice portfolio that's going to allow us to participate in those marketplaces with those individuals who are earning higher incomes, have professional occupations, but not forgetting about the protection of our blue-gray space from an occupation perspective. So the optional riders, you'll see that there are on the DI choice portfolio some of the riders that did not make it over into the MIS. That doesn't mean that we don't think they're important riders. It has more to do with how we filed the product, and how we filed the product was through the compact states. And now what we'll do is we'll go back and evaluate each of the riders that did not carry over, as an example, the accident medical expense, the hospital confinement, the accident hospital confinement, as well as the CI rider. And the CI rider, just as a side note, because we have a standalone individual critical illness product and cancer product and cancer, stroke, heart attack product, that we felt that was going to be sufficient, not having it as an actual rider. So the riders that we do have available for the mutual income solutions, we do have two different versions of the COLA, a 3% or a 6%. You make that selection at the time. The extended regular ox, so this is the same one that we had on our DI choice, but you remember I said that our base definition is 24 months your occupation, not working in another occupation. After 24 months, it would be any OC. Well, if you put the extended regular OC rider onto your contract, that just indicates then the any goes away and it's your occupation for the length of the benefit period selected, as long as you're not working in another occupation. Now, something that is brand new to the Mutual Income Solutions portfolio is our true regular OC, true own OC. And what makes this a really great enhancement is that again, it goes to be more market consistent. So the true own OC says you've added this rider that indicates that, let's say that I am a dentist, and if I am a dentist and I am not able to perform the material and substantial duties of my dental practice, however, I could go be a professor. I'm still going to be eligible. Your client is still going to be eligible to receive their benefit that they're getting as a result of not being able to be a dentist. And it will not be impacted by any amount of income that they earn in another occupation. And so if you went out and you were making X number of dollars, $200,000 as a dentist, and you're receiving a benefit from that because it's a complete and total or residual or whatever it might be, then if you go out and you become a professor, well, your income is not going to be impacted with that true own OC definition. So it's a lot of times the industry will refer to that as a double dip, that you're getting benefit from a carrier and you're also continuing to earn income in a different occupation. So true own OC, very important part of it to have. Return of premium rider. So this is going to make something, I'm going to talk about the return of premium rider, and then a little bit further down, you'll see the cash value benefit rider. So the return of premium rider and the cash value benefit rider, this does create a unique opportunity for us in the higher income occupations, because we will be that only carrier that has a true return of premium option available. There are other carriers out there that have a cash value rider, but when it comes to the more traditional higher income brokerage competitors, this 50 or 80% return of premium rider is going to be unique to Mutual of Omaha, and we think it's going to be a valuable thing to take a look at. Now, is there a cost, a load, so to speak, with this? Yes, of course there is, but like I said, I think there's a lot of great opportunities out there for individuals who are in this space, who want to provide you with a maybe an excuse or an objection that says, well, what if I don't ever use it? Well, that's great. I have a solution for you. So we'll get to quickly find out whether or not that's their real excuse, or whether or not it was just something they were just trying to just push you away about in talking about this important need. So the return of premium and cash value rider, two very important riders that are going to be available to you. The catastrophic disability rider. So the CAT rider is one of which allows you to get to, if in the event a person is not able to perform 2 out of the 6 ADLs, it provides an additional benefit that could get you to actually 100% of your pre-disability earnings. So you have a group LTD plan, you have a Mutual of Omaha individual plan, and if the CAT rider is in place as well, and the disabling event is so severe that it meets these criteria, you could actually get an additional amount that will equal then your pre-disability earnings. So CAT rider is something that is not very expensive, but it is something important to take a look at. Two different versions of the residual rider. So the residual rider is just that. It's not a complete and total, but it's going to be something that it says there has been a loss of income of at least 20%, but not 80%. Then the base level of the residual disability rider is just that. It's a loss of income. And then the enhanced residual and recovery rider is going to be, well, even if you're back to work on a full-time basis and your income is still having been decreased, you could still continue to get that disability, residual rider could be impacting you. So you're earning an income from your current occupation. However, you could still be getting a claim from the carrier, even though you're back to work on a full-time basis because your income has been reduced. The social insurance supplement rider, the SIS rider, so that's a rider that we have out there. That's one that we will use for the occupations in the 1, 2, and 3 areas a lot of times. It's one of which you can use to leverage as far as the premium. It helps you to make this a more budget-friendly type of a plan design. And what I share with individuals, both from a producer perspective and from a clientele, is that the SIS rider is not a bad thing. It just reserves the right for the carrier to ask you to go to make application with the Social Security Administration to be able to get a benefit. Now, so let's say you had a $3,000 a month benefit, of which you had 1,500 was base, 1,500 was the SIS rider, and of that SIS rider, Mutual of Omaha said, "Hey, you've been on claim for 6 months or more. We'd like for you to make application to the Social Security Administration." You're still going to continue to get that $3,000 a month of benefit. Now, let's say you go to the Social Security Administration, you make application, and they decline your application. You don't meet the criteria. Okay, well, that's true on about 75% of the first-time applications for Social Security disability benefits anyway. So you're still continuing to get your $3,000 a month. Mutual Omaha says, you know what, I really think that there is some validity to your claim. Go ahead and file an appeal. So you just file the appeal, no big deal. It doesn't require any out-of-pocket legal cost or anything like that. It's simply an application process. At that point in time, then, if in the event the Social Security Administration, declines it again, then your benefit continues to be paid $3,000 per month. But let's say that in the initial review or the appeal process that the Social Security Administration identifies that, yep, you meet the qualifying claims, and we're going to start sending you a check for $1,000 per month. You still continue to receive the full $3,000 a month of benefit. The source is just a little bit different because now you're getting 1,500 of your base, 500 from your SIS, and 1,000 from your Social Security Administration. So your monthly benefit always stays the same. The source might be different. So when it comes to a plan design, just something to keep in mind. SIS rider, mental nervous. So the mental nervous extension, that just says for the length of the benefit period selected, you could have the full mental nervous. So if in the event of a claim and it's a mental nervous claim, it goes beyond the 24 months. That's available for all occupations except for specific medical occupations. The 4 medical occupations are going to be the anesthetist, the ER doc, the pain management physician, and the CRNA. And the 1A and the 1A occupations are not eligible for a full mental nervous as well. So the ability to have that full mental nervous rider. Future purchase options, that's going to be the automatic increase in the future insurability benefit. You note that these are no cost riders, so I encourage those always to be included on the quotes that are being run, because that just allows for you in year 1 and year 2, the monthly benefit will increase in years 1 and 2 by 4%. In year 3, with the future insurability rider, you have the option to increase that for the maximum available to you based off of your financial documentation, but it does not require any health underwriting. So that's a very important thing. You're protecting your ability to get a future purchase, even if after making application and then you've been diagnosed with the dreaded heebie-jeebies, and the dreaded heebie-jeebies then would not allow for you to qualify medically, but because you put that rider in place, you could allow for that increase based off of your earnings that have taken place. So automatic increase, future insurability riders, just a lot of things that are going to allow for us to be market consistent. Other things that I wanted to share with you here is everybody loves a discount. Everybody wants to know, well, how do I manage this from a budget perspective? And in doing so, this is where the mutual income solutions, we have a common employer discount, which is 3 or more at the same employment address or same employer. That could be met with all 3 applications at the same time or within a 12-month window. And all 3 applicants would receive that 15% discount at the time of which the third person is applied for, issued, and put into force. And then in the following billing cycle, all 3 individuals would start to receive that discount. The self-employed discount, a very important one here. If your client is willing to provide us with their financial information, and they are self-employed, 1099, a partnership, sole proprietorship, whatever that might be, they could get a 15% discount. The multi-policy discount, this is a new one that was added to it in terms of if in the event you have a life insurance policy with Mutual of Omaha, a fully underwritten life insurance policy, you could go ahead and get a discount of 10% on your DI, not on the life insurance, but just on the DI within 90 days of application of the life insurance. Two-person household discount. So that's another one we brought over, introduced recently with our that mirrors our long-term care. So if in the event of you have a two-person household, husband, wife, partner, whatever that might look like, and they both apply for and issue and put in for us a policy, they could each get that 10% discount. The association group discount, this is something that's been available. However, it is now going to be extended, that 15%. In the past, we have not considered self-employed discounts or association group discounts. We have not incorporated those into the medical and healthcare occupations, but we are today. So if there are associations that are out there in the medical and healthcare services, then just let us know. That inquiry can be started with Katie, and then she can work with me to determine whether or not an association is already in place or whether or not one could be applied for. And then the big change that we made to all of our discounts is they are stackable. They are cumulative. So you could add up the self-employed discount and association discount, 15 plus 15, to get you a maximum discount of 30%. So that goes a long way to, again, making this a budget-friendly type of income solution program. So discounts available up to 30%. So then the other thing that we did, not just from a product perspective, but from an underwriting perspective. So our underwriting teams did a great job in creating a path for us to really, we have simplified issue limits. So everything that's underneath of 6,000 between the ages of 18 45, we're taking the application with a farm check and an MIB. Anything at 46 plus underneath of 6,000, at 46 plus, yep, we'd still need a paramed, which is going to do the fluids, blood, urine, physical measurements, and then of course everything between 6,000 and 20,000 for all ages. So the under 6,000 marketplace, which is going to be a majority of where your sales are taking place, and not by your sales, but just the industry sales itself, take place in that under 6,000, because we're supplementing a lot of things that are already in place. So that's from a medical perspective. From an income perspective, the income perspective, again, everything that is up to 6,000, if they're a W-2, if they're a sole proprietor, but if you do, remember, if you want that 15% discount, we do ask that, we do require the financial documentation to be provided to us. So again, the health and the income documentation requirements, we took those from about 4 pages into what could be fit onto 1 page. So we're very excited about that and think that there's a lot of opportunity to consider. Now, how do you access all this great information that I've been talking about? So each person, what we need to know is that these resources are available through Katie, through her team. But what you also need to know is that you would be able to find these if you were to go out to mutualofomaha.com, the Sales Professional Access SPA, by accessing Mutual Income Solutions. You could go to mutualincomesolutions.com, and then you would find that landing page as well. But what we want you to know is that it does require all of our quoting information. We require that you have a Mutual of Omaha producer number, and that you are connected and affiliated with Katie and Premier and their team, so that you are aligned correctly within your hierarchy for disability income protection. So if you have any questions about that, don't hesitate. Just send a note to Katie. Katie can send a note to us, and we'll double check and make sure that all of the alignment of your hierarchy and where you want to place this business is as you had intended. So once you get into the Mutual Income Solutions, you can use the same username and password that you use today to access anything on mutualofomaha.com. But where you can take a look at is what we have, our sandbox. That sandbox is going to be the actual quote engine itself. That sandbox, you can't mess it up. It's just for internal purposes only. And then The sandbox is where you're going to be able to view all that good stuff. And then there's going to be another option that's going to be available, and it's going to be the live dashboard. So the live dashboard is where you're going to be able to create a quote, or Katie is going to be able to create a quote that is going to have a link to it for you. You can just click on that link and go right from the quote into the e-application. And then the other thing here is going to be the e-app step-by-step guide. So I want to hold your thoughts on a couple of these because I'm going to show you what that looks like. So here, sales and marketing materials through our live dashboard. Then, like I said, by visiting mutualincomesolutions.com, a lot of this information is going to be in front of a username and a password. However, in order to get to a lot of that access, we want to make sure that that your username password is linked to your Mutual of Omaha producer number. Once you get into all those scenarios, all of these new training videos are going to be out there and available. Not that you won't be able to go back and listen in on this particular call or follow up with Katie or myself, but the details, the writers, different sales ideas for mortgage protection, the ROP, self-employed, the overview, underwriting, marketing materials that are going to be out there. All of these videos are going to be out there and available. So that's where I want to make sure that you just know there are a lot of great resources, and we're working with Katie and her team today to make sure that those are available through the Premier site. So for just a moment here now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pull this over right here. And this is actually what that is going to look like once you land into, so here's going to be the landing page that I made reference to, that mutualincomesolutions.com. You're going to be looking for e-application and quote tool. With that in mind, this is the sandbox, the live dashboard that I just mentioned, and the quote e-app guide. Once you click onto the sandbox, this is what you're going to see. This is the dashboard that all of the cases that you are working with are going to be listed down here below. So you can see a few of the examples that I have. But if I wanted to go right here and I wanted to start a new quote, this is the actual page, the landing page that you're going to start into. Again, you can work with Katie. You could run a quote on your own. You can do a combination of both, but this is what the page is going to look like. I'm not going to take you through all of that right now. However, I do want to just point that out to you that that quote page is there, and I'd be happy to follow up in more detail. The reason I want to take a look at this is I now have the Mutual Income Solutions, the quote EF dashboard guide available to you. And so that is a resource that I use on a regular basis, because the reason I do is because this will show and give you step-by-step guides, step-by-step screenshots on how you can click a quote, create a quote, and then once you get done with that quote, you can see right here, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here. You can see that you can actually go right into the apply now. Once you click on apply now, that's going to actually take you into the e-application. And once you get ready, once you've received a quote from Katie or you have some additional information that you have, don't hesitate to contact Katie or myself, and we'd love to make this a good user-friendly experience for you. I don't want to overwhelm you today, as enough of it is already just getting a drink of water from a fire hose, I'm sure. But what we've done with this process is we've allowed the opportunity for Katie and her team to be a resource to you. Everybody can see everybody's dashboards, and then we want to just make sure that when you're working and meeting with your client, because you're filling out this application of what we call Part A. So this Part A is what you're going to get to when you click on that Apply Now. You can do this over the phone. You can do it by way of, you can do it over the phone. You can do it by way of a Zoom meeting, a Teams meeting, a go-to meeting, whatever that might be. So you have that option available to you. And then by clicking on that apply now, you're going to fill out all that basic demographic information. Once that information has been completed, and what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to show you what that looks like by going back into my dashboard. So here, I'm just going to show here. So you see, I'm going to pick mine. I'm just going to go into my e-app. This e-app right here that you're seeing populating is what this is actually going to be. And you can see that I'm in the demo environment because I'm not going to be submitting my own information, of course. I already have my policy in force. So all of this is going to be completed. So you see here the policy information that was the quote that Katie might have sent to you. That's going to be the quote information. It's auto-carried and auto-populated into Part A, Part 1 of the application. And so what you're going to see here is that this is going to be filled up with all of these circles. They're going to have green check marks in them. It's going to take you right here to the producer screen. This is where you're going to put in Premier. You can put in your information. Here's going to be your primary producer email address. And then here, you could go ahead and put a contact at Premier, just to start with. You could put Katie Novotny. Here's her phone number, and here's the email. So that might then change, but it allows for Premier as your partner to know when have these applications been submitted, what's the best way to go about doing this, and then finally, when you come down here, this box that says next, that next is going to be populated with blue, and then that's going to carry it over into the next part of this application process. So the next part of this application process, once you've done completing this, is what we call Part A. Part A, once Part A is done, then you have the opportunity to have Part B completed. Now, Part B is just a medical questions. Some advisors and producers are comfortable with doing a Part B, part of the application. Others just want to incorporate and utilize two different options that we now have available. And those two different options that we now have available, because once, and you'll see here, I apologize, I'm kind of scrolling through it pretty quick, but what you're going to see here is on the screen, you see now you've completed Part A. Now you're going to go into a crossroads. You, as the producer, have the opportunity to complete now. Clicking that box, that will then populate the medical questions. But if you said, you know what, my client wants to complete this, and they have two options. They can then, you send to the client then has the option, the choice. They can fill out all of the medical questions on their own when they want, where they want, how they want, through their own secure portal, or they simply call a toll-free number that Mutual of Omaha has staffed. These are internal staff members, internal associates that are ready to take that Part B medical, what we call a tele-app process. So you've done your part, you've done Part A, you've done all the basic demographic, plan design information, payment information, and now you've pushed that on to the next step, which is going to be the client portion of that. The client then says, yep, I'm going to get an email from Mutual of Omaha that says, thank you for making application for your MIS income protection plan. Additional action required. They then set up a username and a password, and they are off to completing that information. All this time, what you're able to do then, all this time is, then you're able to manage and see all of that through your producer dashboard. So this producer dashboard is what's going to be available to Katie and her team, as well as to you and your team as the producer. And then of course the client is going to be able to that, and you just see this, take a little look here at the three dots. It's called an ellipsis, and you'll see all the status that is taking place. So then once that is done, it goes through the underwriting process, any other documentation, APS, all of that status is going to be managed and housed here. And then the client or the producer is going to get an update that says, hey, this policy has been issued as applied for, and the producer accepts it. It goes on to the applicant accepts it, and then the next day, the bank draft is going to take place. So those are the kinds of things when I say that we have put this into all the things are in place and in step to have an electronic version of this. So there are no paper apps. There are not any waiting of mail. There is not any. It's all done by way of the portal and that. So with all of that in mind, this is where I'm going to come to a close here. I'm about 45 minutes into this, and I want to just take a moment of pause and just double check. I know that Katie has provided her email address to check on appointment status, katie.novotny at premiersmi.com. So with that in mind, Katie, I'm going to take a moment of pause and open it up if there's any questions that I might need to address.
Sure. We do actually have a couple, and as I read these off, please feel free to type in any additional. First is going to be when you're filling out the application online. Is there software to tell you if the prospect is approved or not? So basically a pre-qualification form.
Nope, that is a great question. So any kind of pre-screening that we want to do for health, medical history, we can actually take that at underwriter.health@mutualofomaha.com. Or Katie, if you want to direct that to you. So we do have an internal email address for any kind of pre-screens when it comes to medical history, occupation, or even financial questions. So that is underwriter.health@mutualofomaha.com.
Perfect. And Jim, just to clarify too, we have a form. In fact, I will send it out to everyone that is a questionnaire. It will include also the design of the product, so it will allow you to have just a good spreadsheet and a pre-qualification, kind of a one sheet deal. You're always welcome to send that back to us or give us a call as well. Another question is the comparison chart available with other carriers? Specifically, is there a mutual AFLAC?
So we don't have any comparison. We don't have any comparison. I guess spreadsheets versus different carriers. And the reason we have chosen not to do that is because of the variables that are included within that. So just in that example, AFLAC. So the generic versions of an AFLAC option is that they are very low monthly benefit amounts, but because they are employer sponsored, three or more, does the coverage have to be related to an employer or is it true individual coverage? Usually it's going to be a much more cost efficient method or comparison with an AFLAC or a Colonial, something like that's going to be a work site type of a sponsorship. So it's not a comparison. However, if there's questions about what the opportunities are and how ours might price as compared to it, that's more of just a one-off type of a conversation.
Perfect. Another question is, does this coverage or will this cover pregnancy?
So great question. So this coverage is the same as what we had with our DI Choice portfolio. So normal pregnancy is not a triggering event. Any complications thereof pregnancy could be a triggering event based off of any other illness or sickness that has been identified. So it is not. So again, that goes back to the triggering events from an AFLAC and a Colonial. Sometimes there are going to be smaller benefit amounts that are going to be available in the event of pregnancy. But honestly, that was one of the reasons why the team made the decision based off the number of claims that were being made from that 0777 14-day elimination period. So with the elimination period at 30 days, again, if it is a event of which has been triggered as a result of pregnancy, normal pregnancy is not a triggering event. Complications thereof. Now, from a full disclosure perspective, if there are specific questions around what could be triggering events, the specimen policy identifies a number of them. And then I'm also always happy to connect with one of our claims members just so there's further clarification. But for normal pregnancy, normal triggering events, I just say that pregnancy is not covered on a normal basis.
Perfect. Is there a vesting schedule with your ROP?
So great question. So the ROP, so let's talk about two different versions of it. So in our product and underwriting guides, you're going to see a schedule. So the cash value rider has what is being referred to as that vesting schedule. In years 0 through 5, there is not any percentage of the premiums available for refund. However, beginning in year 6 and then increasing each year thereafter till year 25, there is an increasing amount. So if in the event you were to surrender the contract, you would then get that percentage less any claims that are paid. After 25 years, of course, in year 26, full premium would be available for refund if the policy is surrendered. So that's the cash value rider. In the return of premium rider, the 50% or the 80%, the idea there is it needs to be held for the length of the term, which is 10 years. Every 10 years is when that 50% or 80% option would be triggered in order to have that premium refund paid.
Wonderful. Thank you. They're starting to really come in here. Another question would be, how do we obtain the association paperwork?
Yep. So if you want that association paperwork, I would just reference them first, Katie, to your email address, that
Absolutely.
katie.novotny@premiersmi.com. And then Katie will forward that over to our team here at Mutual of Omaha, and we will provide that to you so that Katie can be CC'd in on that.
Wonderful. Gina, I will email those to you, just so you know. The next question is, just to make sure, you can write self-employed 1099, and after 26 years of let's do that one first. Is you can write self-employed people that are 1099?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And the next question is, if you have an appointment for life, do DI and CI are included on that appointment, or is that separate?
It's a great question. So you have a single Mutual of Omaha producer number, which, would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, of which you could have an appointment for life. However, that does not automatically trigger a DI and CI appointment to be active. It's we allow for individuals to choose who they would like to do their business with by product line. So if you are wondering whether or not your DI/CI appointment is active or even set up yet, contact Katie, and Katie and I will work together to make sure that you are contracted appropriately so that that is the way you would like to have it. So it is not an automatic qualifier, but you do have a producer number for Mutual of Omaha. However, we just want to make sure that the products that you want to sell are active.
Perfect. One other question we have out here is, how does not covering pregnancy compared to other DI products?
Great
If you
question.
don't have
So
that
I
answer,
don't.
I can help you too.
Well, I was going to say. So I'm going to respond to it from a carrier perspective. So every carrier is going to have the same definition. By every carrier, I mean traditional DI carriers in the individual space. I am not taking into account and consideration how Aflac, Colonial, or any group, short-term or long-term, individual DI carriers all have the same definition that say normal pregnancy is not covered. It will be considered as any other illness based off of complications thereof. And Katie, if you
Perfect.
wanted to add it, yeah, I was gonna say if you
And just
wanted
to
to add anything with that.
just to continue on that, I get the pregnancy question quite a bit, and that is something where it is a complication of a pregnancy, but true pregnancy coverage with the carriers in which we have here at Premier, we do not have that coverage. Another one is, how is Mutual of Omaha looking at someone who has purchased their disability and has tested positive for COVID? Does this count as a triggering event?
So great question. So it sounds like the policy was applied for and approved and issued. And so we do not have any, and again, because it's a claims question, I'm going to preface it by saying every claim is going to be managed and reviewed on an individual basis. In regard to if it's a COVID related claim, it is going to be considered as any other illness or sickness, just as it would be if it was a heart issue, just as it would be. So we don't have any limitations based off of it being a COVID specific. It would be if you had the flu, if you had pneumonia, if you have COVID, if you have any of these types of things, meeting your elimination period is what's going to be the version of, again, a claims adjudication process. I hope that answered the question.
Absolutely. Um, and I have one more that was typed in. It says, if someone has ADHD using a prescription prescribed by their physician for medical marijuana, is the ADHD eligible?
So there's a
Is that
couple of things
something?
there. Well, there's a couple of things there. So what I will share with you is it's always funny because when I'm on calls like this, my claims team and my underwriting team always get a little cautious to what the sales guy is going to say. So I always preface it by saying each underwriting circumstance is going to be reviewed on an individual basis. However, I've been doing this long enough that I can answer that specific question. So medical use of marijuana is not going to be something that is going to be available or eligible for uh, disability income protection. And the reason I say that is because recreational use of marijuana is an option that is available to get a DI policy issued. However, the underlying version of medical use of marijuana is going to fall under a lot more scrutiny because of the underlying issue. So ADHD, anxiety, depression, whatever it might be, with regular medication may allow for an opportunity for coverage to be to be applied for. However, when you bring in medicinal use of marijuana for ADHD, for depression, for musculoskeletal issues, my underwriting team has shared with us that that's a lot more difficult. So what I would suggest to the person that asked that question is to go ahead and send a note with all of the circumstances around it, and I would love to get an opinion from my underwriting team to provide to you from a pre-screen process. Generically speaking, standalone individual recreational use of marijuana 1 to 2 times per week is something that can still be considered on a standard basis with a non-smoker rating. However, when you start incorporating medicinal use of marijuana, it's not so much the use of marijuana as it is to the underlying medical circumstances that are creating the use. So I know that's not an answer. It's an answer to a non-answer. However, with those types of circumstances, I always recommend let's do a pre-screen on it.
Perfect. And again, I do want to just remind everyone, you're always welcome to send us a note as well. If there is any information that you need from the underwriter, we also ask that if you did do a pre-qualification and you are submitting an application, it is often so helpful to attach that, or you can forward it on to us as well when you submit the application. What helps is that we have done the pre-qualification, and oftentimes the underwriters really appreciate kind of the refresher that you had called or emailed in. So please feel free to give me a call on that. With that, Michael, I can't thank you enough, and everyone out there, for joining us today. We had some great questions. I'm looking at my email now. I can see a bunch are coming in that way as well. Please continue to use that. If I don't know the answer, I know Michael would be happy to help us on this situation. And also a reminder, as a side note, we do have the long-term care webinar. You will see an email go out this afternoon that is offering free CEs for tomorrow afternoon. So if that's something of interest, you haven't seen the invite, please feel free to give me or shoot me an email or give us a call here at Premier. With that, Michael, I thank you so very much. I look forward to 2021, and thank you everyone for joining.
Very good. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye now.
Goodbye.